This is treatment-free beekeeping, where we talk about the steps you can take or what it's like to try to keep bees treatment-free. From the beginning to hopefully a successful end, we'll go through the process as we experience it in our life on Wildflower Bee Farm. This is treatment-free beekeeping. Let's get started. This video was recorded on May 30th, and this is the first of our 2 survivor hives I'm opening up. Now, I dropped the smoker, but I do use a lot of smoke when I open them because I really don't want to crush the queen. Now, this was one of our 2 survivors. It's an 8 frame, and there were probably maybe half a frame of brood about 3 weeks ago, and there was about a frame and a half of honey. If you're watching it on the YouTube channel, and I suggest you subscribe and do that, you'll see me pull out the first frame, and it has some honey from last year's, about half a frame left of last year's honey. Now, what's really surprising is that also the number of bees. So from about a frame and a half of bees, actually hardly any in April, to now we have probably 6 frames of bees and some beautiful brood, and the queen is absolutely going for it. So she did nothing for the first, oh my gosh, all of April and most of May. Now, not surprisingly, this seems to be one of the characteristics of bees or beehives that make it throughout the winter. They start slow. They have smaller, they have fewer mouths to feed, if you will, because they're smaller hives, that they're able to stay warm. Now I'm having a look at the second frame. Now, this is a medium frame we put in a deep because I like to see them build the comb out on the bottom, and even though this looks like pretty old comb, eventually that'll get cut away and we will be able to let them build out the bottom. And often it's drone comb. Remember, healthy hives do use a lot of drone. And as I go through this, I'm now in my 3rd frame of brood, and there's actually 4 and a bit frames. They're hatching and the queen is laying, and it's quite exciting. So what I did is I added an extra box onto this hive, which may seem a little premature, but the way they're going, in 2 weeks they just exploded. I can imagine in another 2 weeks that would be the same. And what I want to be able to do in July after the summer solstice is to go in and do the splits. I'll do some OTS. I'll look if there's any cells. And there I am putting on the top frame. There's no queen excluder, and a great deal of those were empty frames so they can build out the comb themselves. Now let's have a look at our other survivor hive. So even though this hive is from a totally different strain, it's somewhat of a Saskatraz combo kind of hive that survived. And our other hive was a split we made from a swarm a year earlier. The characteristics of this hive were pretty much the same. Now, this hive is located in our clover field, protected from the north. But you'll notice as I open up, now it had a similar kind of profile as our other hive, which was that it was very slow to get started, to the point where I thought it would not make it. I didn't think either one of these hives. You can see my wool winter blanket. I leave that on all year, by the way, because you have to insulate them from the heat as well as the cold. So in opening them up, you're going to see that there's a similar incredible brood. And I'm pulling up one frame here, and it's a medium, but you can see the brood. There was hardly any brood there at all in past times, a full 2 frames of a medium-sized brood. And they are building some comb over top of the old comb, which we often find them doing. Now, again, it's fairly breezy there. I'm using some smoke, but I just want to make sure the queen's not around as I go and open up my next, take up my next frame. And again, it's full of, capped brood, and there's eggs and larvae there. So I know that the queen is active. Now on this hive, instead of deep, I put 8 deep on the last hive. On this one, I'm going to put 10 medium size. And probably in about a month, try to see how many splits we can make from this excellent hive that survived the winter. Now, it was very slow. Certainly, you couldn't have used it for pollination in any way because that just wasn't possible. They weren't strong enough to barely survive themselves, and I worried with some of those cold nights. Now, it still has a number of hives. I'd say there's probably 6 to 8 frames of bees when I opened it up before I started using the smoke. Now I'm just going to pick up my box, put her on there, and seal it back up again. So those are our 2 survivor hives that made it, and hopefully we'll split them into, well, we're hoping 4 to 6 new hives. This is Hank. Have an amazing day.